Welcome back to another episode of ReadyComicsRoll, and if you enjoy what you're watching, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Should have aimed for the head. I'm John.
I'm Anthony.
I'm Dr. Mike.
Oh, so we're using our made-up names. Well then, I'm Anthony Man.
Alright, and welcome to ReadyComicsRoll's full spoiler breakdown of Avengers Infinity War. So,
The gauntlet has been thrown.
yeah. Listen, this movie, how many years? We've been 10 years in the making to get to this point.
They even changed the Marvel Studios logo, if you had noticed.
Oh, no.
The I and the O are now a 1 and a 0.
I was going to say, I think they've changed the format slightly throughout the 10 years of kind of getting to this point.
This is the first time where the actual, yes, the roll-in for the Marvel Studios logo has changed multiple times, but the actual, printed font finally changed.
So moving on from that, I was saying though...
These are important things.
So no one but you, but that's fine. So what I'm talking about though is this has been 10 years in the making. This is the tremendous event of everything that Marvel Studios has really come together to do. I mean,
everything comes to fruition.
Right, just like Thanos collecting the stones, every little bit kind of fell in place to come together for this movie.
I still wish we would have gotten to see him destroy the Nova Corps. It would have been hilarious.
There we go. So we're already starting off with spoilers.
Oh, we did say right off the bat, to be fair.
Yes. Spoiler review.
I still don't even know how I feel coming out of that movie. I think I need to see it a few more times. But the hole that it's left, everything has changed.
Everything has changed, and I think that's a big part of what they wanted to go for this movie. I myself, yes, I'm going to go back and I need to see this movie again just to make sure that I kind of picked up on everything that they put through on this. I mean, it was a 2.5-hour long movie, and I don't say long movie. It felt like 2.5 hours of just glee for me.
Oh yeah,
listen, I might be a little bit biased in this review because I am for many of you who have been watching us and listening to us for a while, know that I'm a huge Thanos fanboy because of just what he brings to the Marvel landscape.
I will say right off the bat though, because you and I have had this discussion, we've had a lot of theories about Thanos' role in Infinity War and whether or not they're going to give him more depth, because again, in the trailers we see these moments where again he's not somebody who conquered planets and was really happy about it. He showed a lot of remorse. I think the only time we really saw that...
He wasn't really enjoying himself.
Well, that's the point, if we look at, and if you go back and watch the podcast that we actually had previous week, we talked about Thanos in the landscape of Marvel in whole, and kind of, again, we have discussed this, minor here and there. When you looked at the previews leading up to even what it was in the movie, Thanos' mission to kind of balance the universe and wipe out half of it for what it needs to be done is an aspect of depth to his character. He's no longer this person who's just lusting after love and he wants to destroy for destruction's sake to appease the one he loves. Instead, he's doing it for what he believes is this need, what he believes is this ultimate quest, and it shows, you can see how he acts through most of the movie, that it's a weight on his shoulders that he's kind of placed on.
Well, the one thing is, we had this discussion earlier this week about Doom, and we had were talking about our favorite villains and stuff like that, and you always say Doom's not a villain, and I'm like, you're right, he's an anti-villain, because unlike the anti-hero who does good things for usually a selfish reason, he's a villain by proxy only because of the fact that he tends to do bad things for a selfless reason. Yeah. He does things for his people, and in this case we have Thanos being the anti-villain because he's essentially doing the universe a solid by being the bad guy.
from perceptions of it. At least I will admit that Thanos is a villain.
Yeah,
I still acknowledge the fact that Thanos is
not every planet was at the tipping point that Titan was at.
Exactly.
Because that's where he got the idea to begin with. Now, I guess what I'm curious about is still what brought him to that point. Yes, he saw that, his people, Titan, there was war, there was famine, there was all these horrible things. What still gave him that idea? Like, hey, just kill half of everybody.
The thing is you have to remember that in the comics, he's written to be one of the most calculated villains.
Well, he's still very calculated in this. They do a great job showing that. Don't get me wrong.
When he's talking to Tony on Titan, and he shows him
Strange.
Or
talking to Doctor
Strange, yeah.
Which, yes, he shows literally what Titan looked like before the end of Titan.
And he explains that he went to people. He said, like, listen, I know this sounds like a mean thing to do, but if we just kind of let waste to half
He said pick randomly, didn't matter, rich, poor.
A lottery that would show no bias towards age, sex, status, wealth, anything. A
completely
indiscriminate lottery to do what needs to be done in his eyes to save Titan.
Yeah.
Now, he believes because they did not listen to him that he failed in that mission to save his people.
And then also what we're shown is how he actually comes across Gomorrah in the first place, which is he's doing that, kill half the planet. Of course, he didn't have the help of the Infinity Gauntlet to do it that time around. He had the Chitauri. But he even said to Gomorrah afterwards, we don't get to see it, so we don't get to see whether or not that's the truth or not, but I really doubt that he's lying. But he basically said that Gomorrah's planet is now flourishing after what he's done.
His precise thing is if you go back and look at any planet that he has done that to, they are flourishing. They are happier. There's no mouth that has gone unfed now because of what he has done. Now, it still is a dark aspect of everything that it is, but it shows you, you could call it madness, you can just call it villainy, but at the same time, as we pointed out, doing this anti-villain role that he believes he's fulfilling this role to make sure that life flourishes. Yeah. So, and again, that's a major difference from the comic to what this movie franchise is. And for being a Thanos fan, there's a lot of different things that they could have used from the comic or they could have went with, but they didn't. They decided to go in a different direction to give him a different type of role. And we'll discover this probably as the next movie comes into place. But for me, I don't discredit it how they decided to go with Thanos in this movie.
It fits very well. It works for the universe that they have built.
Yes.
And going forward, I have no idea what they're going to do, but you have a feeling it's going to be awesome.
That's the thing, is even though it may not stick to continuity, it's a twist on continuity, and I think they did it really well and stayed true to certain aspects of the character.
Absolutely, because one thing is none of the movies have stayed completely true to continuity. It's been an amalgamation of the 616 main continuity and the Ultimates continuity, as well as sprinkled in a little bit of flavor that they've come up with on their own.
Yeah.
And just in regards to the whole Thanos thing, I agree. I guess maybe just because of the way we talked about it, I expected maybe to see a little bit more. Still plenty of depth compared to the comic book iteration.
Right.
But then again, at the same time, I guess I can't really judge or say anything yet because what we just said, this is not the full story. This is simply just one half of a greater story involving Thanos and his conquest. Or,
Well, I remember when we were kind of talking about certain things before and things that we found within director's details and how Marvel was going. What I think that this movie did really well is the fact that they said this is not an Avengers movie. And it may have the title, but this is not an Avengers movie. This is a Thanos movie, and the Avengers take place within this story. And it really drives home the fact, there's a good amount of screen time for Thanos, yet there's a lot of screen time that he's not on there as well. But it shows, obviously, the villain is the center point, and should be, but that main story is everything that's kind of revolving around him.
I'm sorry, I was just remembering just the very beginning when they're on the Asgardian refugee ship and Thanos gets blindsided by the Hulk, and at first you're like, oh man, Hulk's gonna beat that ass. No, and then even Ebony Moss is like, no, let him have his fun.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, wham, just beats the ever-loving crap out of Hulk to the point where Hulk doesn't even want to come out for like the rest of the film.
That's the beautiful thing, is you think like, okay, you see the Hulk and he just kind of waylays and smashes and everything like that. But when you see Thanos fight, you're like, no, this is a guy who knows how to fight in his size. Like, he is a martial artist who is the size of the Hulk. That's scary.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, it's kind of hard to say, because at this point in time in the movie, at the very beginning, he already has the power gem.
Yeah.
So we don't know how much the power gem has really augmented his strength, but we know that the Titan is going to be strong.
I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt.
And say no?
And I know you like that answer.
I love that answer.
But, because whenever he's used any of the gems, you see the glow.
Right.
And you didn't see the glow when he
at
was
that
beating
point in
that
time.
ass.
Right.
So,
I mean, here, and this is when something really big for our spoilers comes in, but this is also the big part in the very beginning of the movie when you see, obviously, like, some major characters that you've seen in the franchise die.
But I want to call bullshit, because they're sitting here like, oh, this is super serious, guys. There's going to be characters that are going to die and they're not going to come back. Motherfucker, we read the comics.
No,
we know how this works.
Well, I have a theory behind what may happen, and
they might not bring everybody back.
They might not bring everybody back because of certain circumstances, and we'll kind of go into that as the review goes on. But yes, you're in this very beginning. You're going to see basically all of the Asgardian refugees die.
Done.
So Asgard is kind of like done.
Him dead.
I'm kind of sad. I'm kind of sad about one thing and one thing only.
Loki?
We don't get a Korg death.
I was gonna say,
or Meek. We have no idea because Meek was alive.
They jettisoned probably.
I know, right? But either way, so
they got dropped off somewhere else.
Yeah.
To start a new resistance.
But I want to make sure that I bring the emphasis for the people who are pretty much huge Loki fans. He got his guy. he got God.
You know what? Credit to him. Like, one after another, he played.
He was trying to play Thanos for a fool, and it just wasn't working out.
He would have had it, but it was.
I still don't think that was. You know what? I still don't think that was really Loki. I still don't.
It was Loki.
You're still holding out for it.
I'm sorry. It was Loki. It was Loki.
Loki doesn't confront people like that. That was so out of his character to do what he did.
He also had nowhere to go because you also have to look who was around him. He didn't really have the opportunity.
Bullshit. He knows how to open holes in the 9 realms. He could have gone anywhere.
Well, then how come he didn't stop himself falling forever in Thor Ragnarok?
Because he's kind of dumb.
Either way, but that really kicked off this movie like right into it. That's why everything is destroyed. That's why a couple of characters are right down off the bat. You see the fact that he gets the space gem and the power gem right there in the beginning, which me and Mike actually had talked about. We said immediately in the beginning he's going to have 2 gems.
Yeah.
Like
no, I mean we all knew that was going to happen because it was pretty obvious based on the way Thor Ragnarok's after credit scene with Sovereign 2 showing up. Sanctuary 2. I'm sorry, I'm thinking. Anyways, with him showing up, we knew that had to be the way they were going to either do it either right off the bat or very close to the beginning.
Right.
And I agree, though. We'll probably get a deleted scene of him destroying Nova Corps, though.
I don't want to see that.
We'll have an extended cut, and I think we'll have maybe a short scene of him actually just ransacking Nova Corps.
The only reason why I don't want to see that happen is because I don't want to see what happens to the one guy from Nova Corps. I can't remember the actor that played him, but
John C. Reilly?
Yeah, John C. Reilly's character.
I gotta say though, this actually leaves up to a spectacular thing. Like, if they either show a deleted cut or they can literally introduce the character of Nova. Like, right off the bat, because they don't just have to make him as Nova, they can make him Nova Prime, because he will be the last Nova.
Because Feige even said that they are looking at doing a Nova.
I am so excited about them doing like a Nova thing.
My thing is this,
He's my favorite Green Lantern who's not a Lantern.
I'm thinking if they do Sam Smith, I probably won't be as psyched for it. But if they do the original Nova, I'm down.
Richard, what's his name? Richard something. I know I'm going to get
I can't remember.
Put the name of the original, Nova Prime down in the description below, because I can't believe I just forgot it.
But to the point with them getting started with that, that's also a huge motivator for Thor's storyline throughout that movie. And as far as
isn't it Ryder? Isn't his last name Ryder?
It might be.
But as far as catching the blade before it actually caught Thanos' throat, that wasn't Thanos that stopped that. That was Proxima Midnight. It was
No, that would have been Ebony Maw.
For sure, because the way that caught was very similar to the way when she does the whole gravity.
But Ebony Maw is the only one who has like psychic powers.
No, but I mean, like, you remember with
She
her
has
staff.
the gravity lance thing.
True. Well,
It was either one of them, but the point is it wasn't Thanos. One of I'm sorry, I was going to say the Black Order because that's the comic book iteration, but the Children of Thanos is the one that basically saved him.
Everyone is a child of Thanos when they perish as the tribute.
Oh my god. Ebony Maw was so much creepier in that movie than I ever thought he could be versus the comics.
But it was
The comics
amazingly
were-
creepy.
Oh yeah. No, it was amazing.
He was so well done, and I know you said that you weren't expecting that voice. I liked that voice.
No, I expected something a little bit, like, to me it sounded too Earth-ish. To me, I expected
like
a little bit raspier, I don't want to say more demonic, but otherworldly, because of the fact that he is in this role. I mean, when you look at the Black Order as a whole throughout this movie, in everything that they've done,
he's the most alien.
Well, not just the most alien, but he gets kind of the most screen time. He gets the most lines
out of
within
the Order,
and it's because he's quote unquote the prophet of Thanos.
Yeah.
Okay, how he comes across as everything is he is reading scripture.
He is preacher man.
Yeah, he is preacher man coming through it. And the other thing that I loved about Ebony Maw is the fact that when you see Proxima Midnight going through, and she's pretty cool, but whatever. Corvus Glaive, I am disappointed on how they do Corvus Glaive. Black Dwarf, I think they kind of got him pretty much nailed on because really he's just a brute.
He's a beat stick.
Whatever.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Again, I'm still disappointed about
Corvus.
No, I'm disappointed about Corvus Glaive, but I'm also disappointed that they didn't put Supergiant in there. But I think they kind of amped Ebony Maw up by letting him almost like take on more responsibilities of.
He was the right hand.
He was amazing though. That actor, the character, just acting as this prophet of Thanos going out and how powerful and deadly he was. They've always stated in the comics that the Maw was the most dangerous. Not necessarily the most powerful, but the most dangerous out of the entire Black Order. And in this movie, they show you this guy is dangerous.
Yeah.
Which I guess
and powerful.
That's my point. That's the one thing I'll briefly touch on. Because we'll go into greater detail when we talk about certain scenes. But I agree with you as far as the handling of the children of Thanos. I get it. I guess this is one of my only real issues with this movie. I know we've kind of discussed it before. But the pacing, to be fair, they've crammed a lot of stuff into a single film.
This doesn't have the normal Marvel pacing where it's slow in the beginning and then speeds up. And
It's you have just nonstop.
Yeah, and then there's like a few scenes here and there that kind of slow things down a bit.
Like for that brief second,
it's only for that scene.
That's why
it's more for like when they're painting the pictures, and we've seen this in the trailer when. The Thanos and Gomorrah meeting her as a child, like that slows it down, but at the same time, though, it adds a lot to the backstory of the character. So that's where those slow down periods kind of happen.
In regards to that, it's like they had to cram a lot into one. That's why I'm not like I don't really consider that a negative because, like we discussed, there's a lot of other movies that have done it and failed, and this movie definitely succeeded.
You're talking about the jumping from world to world thing, right?
Well, just pacing in general. Like how everything moves along. I just felt like we were watching a movie on fast forward.
This movie, there's obviously because it's interstellar, it has things on Earth, it has things everywhere. This did a really good job, and I say that
at transitioning. Yes, we didn't have the Star Wars George Lucas fake cuts left and right. Everything felt very organic. So like I said, they definitely have done it better than anybody else, but I still think the pacing kind of made certain things suffer, such as the children of Thanos. I just felt like it was hard to do more with them, but I don't like, again, like you mentioned the whole thing with Corvus Glaive, Proxima Midnight, the way that they were dispatched, like I said, we'll probably discuss more.
Well, I think we should go right into that.
All right,
because you look at it this way. The first fight with Black Dwarf, I kind of expected a lot of it.
Obsidian Cole.
Yes.
Because they had changed a lot of names around.
Black Dwarf,
Yes.
when he was going through, and him and Ebony Maw come to the city, they're meeting like Tony Stark, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, stuff like that.
Which we were talking about the whole prophet thing where Ebony Maw's always talking. It's like, dude, you talk too much.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, it doesn't matter. Like, he still did it. He talked a lot. He's one of the few villains that talked a lot and still got his shit done, which was awesome. And the fact that you see Black Dwarf and he gets, like, ultimately moved to another area because they're like, I'm not dealing with this Hulk creature anymore. And they cut off his arm. You know what I mean? So right there, you see immediately that, hey...
They're not unstoppable.
They're not unstoppable, but at the same time, though, there's something to really mess with. Imagine if they were to actually all be there at once. And you never get to really see that through this.
Yeah, they kind of split off to kind of dividing
cover more ground. Yes,
that's the point.
Because they're there for 2 stones.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
They figure, hey, let's 2 go for this stone, 2 go for that stone.
The way of City and Cole was dispatched.
They were going for the Time Stone, and they were also going for the Mind Stone.
Yeah.
So
the way of City and Cole was dispatched, though, I'd probably say it was the best handled out of all of them. It made like the most sense, and even like you pointed out, is basically how it played out in the comic.
Well, in the comic, what we're referring to is that obviously there's the big battle that's in Wakanda, and Black Dwarf is going to be there, and he gets obviously defeated there. That to me is one of the most like true, even though he doesn't die in the comic, he actually gets more tortured and dispatched by Danos because of a failure. But that's his greatest failure.
Yeah.
And even in the movie, you're like, he dies there. That's his greatest failure. So they stuck to that twist of being defeated in Wakanda, which was great. That's another one of those little things. That's the thing for me, because I've read a lot of stuff for Thanos. I was able to pick a lot of these little scenes that's very, very reminiscent to the comic.
Well,
very true to the
like Ebony Maw and the I forgot what he called that ability. Basically, I want to say like the Silent Room, where he had all the needles.
The needles coming out of
that came straight out of the comic too, and that was great. But I feel like they downplayed their power. Like right off the bat, we see Captain America as Nomad. Epic way of bringing him in.
Yeah.
But the way that both him and Black Widow were so easily able to defeat
Don't you feel that, like,
Midnight was kind of my point.
Don't you feel that Scarlet Witch was also like uber powerful in this too?
Yeah.
Like Scarlet Witch is on point, like just amazingly powerful.
I would say she's about as powerful as she honestly should be. I think they kind of downplayed her in a lot of previous films. Yeah. Now they're really ramping her up to where she kind of should be. Because remember, she's responsible for House of M, which they are apparently thinking about maybe even doing in the future.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Hey.
But you did have, yes, Captain America and Black Widow essentially dispatch Proxima Midnight, but again, they're not.
I can't get up.
They're not really like invincible, and they're even.
Well, Corvus Slave
technically
is.
Corvus Slave is immortal as long as his glaive, as long as his glaive is unbroken, he's immortal. But the thing is, though, they didn't do that for this movie.
No, they just penetrated him with his glaive,
which shouldn't have killed him.
Which, to be fair, if you just leave it in him, he keeps resurrecting with it in him and then dies again.
But
that works too.
They technically did it like twice. They did it in the
very
first
beginning,
where Captain America.
I can't get up.
Yeah.
Come on.
They fake out saying that. Remember, I called it too.
Yeah.
So the Black Widow comes to Wakanda, and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna go after."
That's classic. That's classic. Strategy.
But that's the thing, though. Corvus Glaive is the strategic person in the group. He studies all forms of like war and combat for that planet, and then he goes.
If anything, I'm actually disappointed in Captain America not considering that. Yeah. Actually, I guess he kind of did, because they had a Scarlet Witch there. Scarlet Witch leaving is what kind of screwed everything up. Because he did tell her to stay behind. So never mind. Good job, Captain.
Yeah. Good job, Captain.
The fact of the matter is, as far as Proxima Midnight goes, even in the comic books, I mean, aside from the gravity staff, she's just a good fighter.
Yeah.
But
we didn't really get a chance to see that. She was getting rock socked almost every time we saw her on the screen.
She held her own versus two of the better fighters from our planet at that point, because Cap and Black Widow.
That's like Raditz fighting, a bunch of Krillins. I had to make a Dragon Ball Z reference. I'm sorry.
You're diminishing my Black Order.
No, that movie diminished the Black Order.
No, but and that's
I get
the
it
thing.
though.
That's the
They
thing,
had
though,
to.
we knew for a fact, just looking at how the script was going to go and the fact that they're moving on to the next one.
We knew they were going to bring Sentry in to just beat everybody.
Exactly. Like, we knew that they had to make them at least vulnerable enough because they weren't going to be in the next movie. They were a device, and I think they were pretty much good. We didn't get too much backstory. They weren't important enough.
They served their purpose.
They served their purpose. They were
their
tools. They were the children. They did what they were supposed to do in a sense, and then that was the end of that.
And who knows, we may get Corvus Glaive returning at some point. He was only impaled. He comes back
Well,
from that
again,
kind of
there's
thing.
a possibility. Let's hope that happens, unless
Yeah.
he's one of the people throughout like half the universe that got erased.
That's a possibility too.
But I mean, let's see. At that,
It is indiscriminate snapping.
It is. It is. It was great.
How funny would that have been, though, if Thanos would have been one of those people that at random was chosen to be erased?
I know. Well, actually, that possibly would have appeased him as well.
It would have.
You know, random lottery. Oh, I was chosen. Which yes.
50-50
By the way, we get to that point within everything. Thanos does eventually. You know, he has the first 2 stones in the very beginning. He goes for.
He manages to decimate like 3 planets without us seeing. Because he decimates.
He goes to nowhere.
He goes to nowhere, but nowhere is destroyed before technically the Guardians get there.
Yeah.
So
Which
he
is
gets
great.
the reality gem, which that scene was great because Gomorrah, knowing where the Soul Stone is, she's trying to convince Peter Quill to end her life if she ever gets captured by Thanos.
And there was a lot of touching moments like that.
There
There was a
was.
lot of things that
Tug
were
on
set
your-
up to tug on your heartstrings. That
Yeah.
was definitely one of them.
And when they get there and they go to attack Thanos because he's going after the Collector to stop the whole thing, when Gomorrah ends Thanos, you're like, wow, that was something.
Anticlimactic.
But you know, all right, Reality Stone, where are you gonna kick in?
You
And
see
it
Del
kicks
Toro
in.
though as the Collector.
I know. Bravo.
It wasn't even him, and it still was so him. It was just like.
But that means Thanos has a very good perception of how the Collector is supposed to act. But that's the thing. Reality Stone kind of fades through, and Thanos is just like, see? I hope you got it out of your system. You got me, but in your dreams.
Yeah, because he was even like, I can't believe it. Why would you do this? That was the one thing I liked. So even though Thanos does not love death, at least as far as we know yet, we still have another movie.
Right.
Could still be
They can even
good.
expand on it more.
Exactly. The one thing which was surprising, but in a good way to me, is the fact that, Thanos really didn't care for much of anything except for a singular purpose, which in the comics was death. And this movie, the one thing he loves most is Gomorrah. So in that moment, he was like...
Oh, no, he I don't want to say he was shocked. He was prepared for it. But at the same
He
time,
was
though,
hoping that was not going to be the case.
he was just like, I know that you want to, but I'm hoping that you can't truly do it. And it happens, and he fades, through, and he confronts her, and then, you have this exchange, Peter Quill's actually going to pull the trigger.
But that scene itself...
Thanos loves bubbles.
Yes.
Thanos loves bubbles.
That scene made me uncomfortable, though. In a good way, because it just shows the power of reality stone. Because then you see Drax, who's the one, who's one of the people destined to be able to kill Thanos, turn to stone, fall to pieces. Mantis unravels like cloth, and you're just like... Oh, this is like some Junji Ito shit right here.
Yeah.
But, yeah, left with the impossible choice.
Yeah. When Star-Lord actually has to pull the trigger and then bubbles come out, he's just like, did you really think I was going to let you do this?
Oh, no, he goes, I like him. And then disappears.
Well, I know, because he's kind of like going to Gomorrah, his daughter, going, I like this guy.
It's like
he's going to do what he has to do. I really, really like this guy.
Peter Quill earned father's approval.
Exactly.
You can say my daughter. You just tried to kill her like you promised you would. Bye-bye.
Yeah. They get away, but it leads to, so right there he has space, reality, power, and then he's going for the Soul Gem, because eventually Gomorrah gives in and tells him where the Soul Gem is because of Nebula torturing her sister.
So many heartstrings. You see so much just raw emotion from so many characters, and the movie does really well of making you feel it as well.
To me, what got me, and I'm gonna say it because of how much they were really bringing into Thanos, the fact everything that had to do with the Soul Stone. You get to the planet that it's supposed to be. You meet, spoilers, Red Skull is there.
That was awesome. Like,
Yeah,
I knew he wasn't dead, but I was not expecting him to be there.
I loved the fact that they brought him back around. Okay, even for this kind of small part to go, listen, for you to get the Soul Stone, you have to give up what you love most, what you care about most.
Everybody, it's Hugo Weaving, man. It's Hugo Weaving.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I love the fact that Hugo Weaving is the Red Skull.
And I think if they're going to do Red Skull again, they should keep it CG, because that, I don't know if you guys noticed or not, that was complete CG Red Skull Hugo Weaving. Even on the close-up shots,
Oh,
it was
that's
CG.
cool.
It was CG, and it looked. I don't know. It looked a lot better to me than when
They should have used the CG people for that for the Venom movie.
Yeah. Or at least for the trailer. God.
So, but right there, they're on this precipice of like oblivion, and Thanos gives up Gomorrah, and it's kind of weird because Gomorrah's going on this whole thing of like, ha ha ha, you don't love anything, and then he turns around and he's weeping. He literally has a tear in his eye, and she's just like, no, don't. Why? Are you sad because you can't get anything? And even Red Skull goes, no, it's for you. Because you're the only thing that he loves. And he tosses her over. And he gives her up. The one person that he loves. The one person that he was hoping that when everything was said and done, she would ascend to his throne, in a sense. He gave her up for the Soul Stone.
Yep.
And that was, for me, that was a really impactful moment. That was like...
Again, it just shows the lengths that he's willing to go to. It shows the conviction and the willpower that Thanos...
Which is what's a driving statement that he does at every single time he was met there. Why am I doing this? Because it takes the willpower to do it.
And then, like we discussed, this took place in both Earth and space, like we thought it would be.
Yeah.
Kind of jumped all over the place because you had Wong, Doctor Strange, Peter Parker, and Iron Man on Earth initially in New York. The Sanctum
Sanctorum.
Sanctorum, yeah.
I was about to say Sanctorium, but yes.
Sanctum Sanctorum.
But then, of course, you have the Guardians of the Galaxy running into Thor in space, to which they split off. You have Drax Mantis, Peter Quill, and Gomorrah all going to nowhere, and then you have
Thor,
Rocket, and Groot
going to trying to remember the name of
the Dwarf Star.
To try and forge a new hammer for Thor.
Stormbreaker. Which was cool. I mean, personally, I was a little bit disappointed in the fact that they were using Stormbreaker for him instead of Bill, but it is what it is. It was a really cool weapon. The fact that it has, this super crazy metal and
a brute arm.
The raw power of it too. But which reminds me, I love Peter Dinklage as an actor, but it seems like watching that
Sci-fi's not his.
No,
he needs to stick to regular fantasy. Sci-fi's not really his.
He played a character who knew that they were CGing his size, and
he was a giant dwarf,
and he didn't want to do what he had to do because he even thought Thor was dumb. Yeah. This could kill you. Yes, it could kill me. That's what I said.
It's like, not if I died first. Well, yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Horrible.
God,
you make Thor such a blonde.
But the thing is, at the same time, though, they made Thor they continued with Ragnarok, making Thor really epic in power and scope for this movie. Because after that, so now Thanos has had all these gems, and he gets into this fight with Strange and Spider-Man and stuff like that to get the Time Stone.
Yeah, because what ends up happening is, of course, the movie, you have the Guardians of the Galaxy, or at least that portion we talked about that went to nowhere, minus Gomorrah, and then you also have Peter Parker, Doctor Strange, and Iron Man, minus an Ebony Maw, which they... Peter Parker pulls another movie reference to go ahead and save the day. Hey, you guys seen Aliens? Ebony Maw gets shot off in the vacuum of space.
Right.
But it's all them, plotting together to take on Thanos.
And you know what? I gotta say, how the group that they had was a really good group. I mean, you have Tony Stark and what power he can kind of output. Doctor Strange with all the creative ability, which they got rid of that scene that they put in the trailers where he's like. Star-Lord is
jumping.
Jumps. Did he? Yep. I may have blinked her.
Because that's when he does the awesome jump where he puts the grenade on his back.
Yeah.
And then he's just like, boom, and then he jumps in a little pocket.
But like that little team is a really good team because
did.
they actually put like a hurt on
Magic punch, magic punch.
I kind of feel
magic kick.
I kind of feel Peter Quill's pain in that scene. I think I probably would have made the same fuck up. So they have him. He's finally brought down to his knees. They achieved what it was thought to be impossible.
Right.
And they're like, okay, well the plan is we can't really take this guy, but force take off the gauntlet, get that off of him, and then maybe he's gonna stand a chance.
Mantis is during her mind-numbing power.
Oh my god!
The fact that you truly know at this point in time, because Mantis, feeling the emotion of
she's
everything,
the empath.
She's like, okay, he has a lot of rage. No shit, he has rage. Well, he's lost. He's heartbroken.
And he's grieving.
He's grieving.
And then
whoa,
Peter Quill just like. Well, first off, Peter Quill's being cocky as fuck like he usually is. He's like, yeah, see, we got you. Thought you were so big and bad. This is my plan, by the way.
Yeah.
But then he's hearing that, and he's like, what? And then that's when Nebula's just like, what did you do to Gomorrah? And then, like, already, like, I already, like,
yeah.
Because I'm just like, oh no. Oh, no. Because we already know what happened, but I didn't think this was going to come into play story-wise, which was genius on their part.
Yeah.
And then he's like, what did you do? What did you do? And then that's when Nebula kind of voices for him, because you see tears going down Danos' eyes. It's like, he sacrificed her for the Soul Stone, and you just see Peter Quill like, no. And it's almost like the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 all over again. He's like, I did what I had to. And he's like, no, you didn't. You didn't need to do that. You didn't. Starts gun bucking him in the face.
And that's where it messes up everything.
Because it knocks him out of that trance.
Yeah. And then he throws Mantis
and
off.
It's right when the glove is like right off. It was like right there out of his hand. So right when he snaps out, he kind of just pulls it back on.
He grabs it, pulls it back in, and then he rains down a moon on people. He rains down a moon.
Oh, he destroys.
Which is funny because Titan's a moon anyways, and then he rained another moon on top of a moon. Just saying.
Well, sometimes when you want to be
moon! You
gotta be a motherfucker with another motherfucker.
It's very true. But when that whole scene kind of wraps up, that's when he obtains the Time Stone. So now he has everything but the Mind Stone.
Because Doctor Strange, one of the things we see is he starts going all like freaking out, like, oh, is he okay? He sees every single, I think it was like, what, 14,000 something?
It's a few million. It's 14 million.
I thought it was 140,000.
It was a big number.
It was a big
regardless.
number.
And it's like there's only one instance we want. So we know kind of Doctor Strange has an idea of what he needs to do to set things in motion to see this one actuality come into play. And so, funny enough, beforehand he's just like, no, screw you guys. My mission is to protect the stone. If it means Peter Parker dies, if it means you, Iron Man, you die, so fucking be it. I'm protecting the stone, but yet in this moment we see it given away.
Right. Yet Tony Stark is literally dying. He like already has been impaled. Thanos is about to crush him, and then
I'll trade you. Just spare his life. I'll give you the stone.
And that's how he gets that stone. And then that's the final conquest on Earth. Like it leads right to the final conquest of Earth.
The Outriders.
The Outriders were cool.
Sacrifice themselves just to like.
Well, that's because Proxima Midnight had the perfect thing when they said there will be. T'Challa says you will not get this
without blood.
Without blood and something else. And
blood and ash.
Blood and ash. And Proxima Midnight goes, we have blood to spare. That unleashes the Outriders, and that's where you see that wave of Zerglings kind of attacking the Protoss base.
Yeah, which is
it really is. StarCraft reference for the win.
But that's what we do. We see them they sacrifice themselves because
against the barrier.
If enough of them were pushing against it, some of the other ones kind of peek through as the barrier kind of slightly gives way.
It's like anything else. You put enough output on the shielding, eventually the power will fade,
and then of course
a weakness will
come. Captain America, being the strategist that he notices they're starting to come around. It's like, oh shit, no, we can't let them flank us. And that's when T'Challa's like, okay, open up the barrier. It's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
No, I'm serious. Open up the barrier.
At that point in time, they're thinking funnel them.
Exactly. You open it a little bit, it's a lot easier to take them, and then they're all going to be coming through instead of trying to flank, which would have been just, no.
It still was funny, though, that during this entire movie, that Hulk, just like you said before, you never got to see the Hulk, because you almost think that either, him and Banner are maybe having this fight, but at the same time, though, I think
he's afraid of Thanos.
Thanos whooped his ass, and now he's afraid to come out because he's ashamed.
Beat some humility into him.
Yeah.
That's what it did.
So, in Wakanda is basically the final scene of the movie that lines up everything. They're trying to get the stone.
We got Banner and Hulkbuster armor.
Yeah, because the whole thing is they're trying to get to Vision. They figured out a way to, they believe in Wakanda,
separate the Mind
Shuri
Stone.
can go ahead to separate the Mind Stone and still be able to make sure that he's intact. Because the way that he was
can destroy the Mind Stone.
She has the power to do so.
Yeah.
So that was originally the plan, but of course things, as always, didn't go to plan. Scarlet Witch abandoned her post. Corvus Glaive was just like, haha, got it.
But it was what I was saying the entire time. When you finally get into that small, like, jungle scene, Thanos appears, he's going after Vision, he's trying to head towards him, he's just slapping everyone away.
Oh, yeah, okay, had enough.
Yeah, basically, like, no, I'm slightly, it's basically him going, I'm just going to squash him into the ground. Hey, you're holding it.
I thought he was going to give him a high five. Like, you know what, your forces did a good job.
Good job.
Hey, I was trying to compliment you son of a bitch.
I like you, kid.
You got gusto.
Aside, Scarlet Witch destroys the stone.
Which we all knew. It's like
that was like we knew. Destroys the stone, destroys Vision, but of course Thanos Time Stone reverses it, gets there, says mine, sucker. Boom.
Exactly like we said he was gonna do too. Literally just like kind of digs right into his head, just rips it out. It's okay, I got it.
Another really fine moment that I've been waiting for since they said Vision was gonna be in this movie.
I know,
I hate Vision.
Almost as much as you hate Thor. Maybe a little bit more.
No, he hates Vision more than Thor.
I actually kind of do hate Vision more than I hate Thor. Not the actor. I don't hate the actor who played Vision. I hate the character Vision.
Paul Bentley is.
Yeah.
But speaking of Thor, then we have that moment where
Thor comes back.
Throws Stormbreaker, which is huge, by the way, compared to like the way it normally is. I think that's like a full two-handed axe size. But chucks that.
It was kind of a combination between both Stormbreaker and the Organ Board.
Yeah.
But then he just chucks it like axe, like a throwing axe style. And even the full force, well, maybe not full force, but you can see him using the gauntlet and the gems to try and stop it. And this, I guess, is like Odin Force level powerful.
Yeah.
And it's cutting through until literally
it was a weapon made for a king of Asgard.
Yep.
Leading to.
But you get shocked. I mean, I was blown away by the fact that Stormbreaker actually goes into Thanos' chest, and you're like, whoa, this is like ending now. But that's when it comes down to Thor really should have aimed for his head, because in a blink of an instance,
they did exactly like we said we were going to, which was honestly the best way you could have done it.
Yeah.
Just take it straight from the comic. He snaps his finger, there goes half of the universe.
Yep. And at that point in time, he snaps his fingers, he gets out, everyone's yelling, what did you do? What did you do? What happened? Thanos fades away. He literally uses the space gem, fades out, axe drops, he got out, and you see at the climax of the movie everyone literally starting to fade away. Not even as ash. I don't even know what that is.
It's like an ash, like
it's
something. They're getting erased. But so right off the bat, you see Bucky. Bucky's gone. So a lot of Bucky fans, are like mourning.
Dude, like everybody drops. No, actually, funny enough, and speaking of that, like there's a lot of people in Wakanda because that's where everything closes in half the
you see like the Wakandan soldiers all fading.
Black Panther disappeared, so everybody was fucking living.
Oh man, yeah, a lot of people were upset with that in our theater. You could hear the emotions go through the crowd as certain people died. No, someone said in the theater, Wakanda for life, and then another person corrected them and said, it's forever.
But then they said it right afterwards. It was the same person that said it.
Yeah.
They were just like, kind of in a mournful voice, like, Wakanda forever. Which does suck because T'Challa is such an awesome character. And to see him being one of the people that unfortunately wins the shit lottery.
Yeah.
It's like, damn.
Well, it's weird because you would think that it would have been, Cap, Iron Man. You would have thought the people who've been around forever.
The people who've been around for
the biggest troll, though, because like you pointed out, we didn't even know about it, is, they signed the contract, they renewed their contract the same day of the movie's release.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people assumed, alright, well, we know Iron Man's gone, we know Captain America's gone, or one of them is gone, or both of them are gone.
Chris Evans is refusing to sign a contract.
So they're told either one of them's gone or both of them are gone.
Chris Hemsworth's contract is up.
But Tony Stark is the only one left on Titan.
which was
Spider-Man's gone.
The
Strange
Spider-Man scene.
That was
a tear nearly came to my eye. I'm being dead ass serious.
That's a kid begging for his life.
That was just so. I don't know. I think it's from being. You'll probably feel this later, but from being a parent, just seeing that scene where it's almost like his son in a sense. That's how much he's cared for people.
Did Nebula turn to dust?
No, she didn't.
So he's not alone.
No, Nebula was. Oh no, Nebula wasn't.
Yeah, Nebula was on.
But to see Peter Parker just begging for his life, like, I don't feel good, Mr. Stark.
I knew there was someone
He's
else.
like grabbing onto Tony Stark for dear life, and he just fades away. Yeah,
Nebula was on a different ship.
It would be
Nebula would be how it gets off.
Yeah.
But just to see Peter Parker.
Oh my god, that's gonna be a weird team up.
To see Peter Parker just like beg for his life, like, I don't want to die, I don't want to die, I don't want to. You could just even hear like just how weak his voice is and how.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
It's going to be crazy with all the characters that kind of fade. I don't want to say died because they didn't really die. They faded from existence, but they're still remembered. So it wasn't they're not unrememberable people.
The entire Guardians of the Galaxy, save for Rocket and technically Nebula, because I guess she's part of.
She's kind of a part of the Guardians, unattached.
All erased. Doctor Strange erased.
Yep.
Just
we don't
even know what happens to Wong.
Right, well, you don't know everyone in the world that is, because that actually goes into the final
end credit scene.
The end credit scene where
the worst end credit scene so far in Marvel movie besides the patience.
The funny thing is, I knew from the bat. I remember I even shouted it out. I'm like, these motherfuckers gonna kill Samuel L. Jackson and Nick Fury. I'm so pissed. And the funny thing is, what happens? So they're driving, they're talking about it. They're talking about the energy signature of Wakanda. Like, cars are spinning out of control. We see helicopters because these are the people that disappear piloting these things. And then Maria Hill disappears, which is fine. I'm sorry, I harbor a grudge against Maria Hill because of the comics and the whole thing with Civil War. But in the MCU, she's been fine, whatever. But so we see her fade away, and then Samuel Jackson starts fading. Before he does, he hits a transponder, but then he's like, fade away, she's just like, motherfucker. And then once they have him fade out before he can say, because it's Disney.
Yep.
But then, of course, the transponder shows
Captain Marvel. So that obviously that's looking into the bigger landscape of how things are as they go. But that's the thing, though. With this movie, there was a lot of things. I know you had said you really don't know where.
I'm sorry, but there's two things that are wrong with that end credit scene.
killing off Samuel L. Jackson.
Besides killing off Samuel L. Jackson. Well,
yeah, he's already fake died once.
So, in every other instance of people disintegrating, their shit goes with them. His transponder.
He dropped it before.
He knew that he was smart enough to know. He's just like, and technically,
sucks.
That was Captain Marvel's transponder that she probably gave to him.
Yeah.
Which is funny, which I'd be absolutely hilarious now I think about it, and I was discussing this with a friend. How funny would it be if he actually said transponder for Captain Marvel, and that she's one of the people that also get it?
She's gone too.
No, we don't know that. The other thing is there were certain characters, like, we were expecting so many people in this film. If they said something like, we got a lot.
That was part of it.
But there was a few people that we didn't see at all. And it was kind of surprising that we didn't see at all.
We didn't see Ronan Hawkeye.
We didn't see Ronan Hawkeye.
They gave a reason for that. Like a kind of half-assed reason. That's it, Ant-Man.
Well, that's the thing, though, with how big the movie was, the fact
they already
that
had enough going on.
Throwing people in there for no reason. I think this movie did a really good job at making sure that, because you don't need to know about all these characters. They don't need to be more established. I mean, they went into some stuff with Vision and Scarlet Witch, but that was kind of
romance. It was the romantic tension from the last movie,
and the fact that he was a centralized point of the Mind Stone. So you kind of understood that. They did a good job at making sure everyone got a little bit of spot time and was important throughout the whole thing. But you weren't like, this person needed more screen time, this person needed less. That person was useless. The Black Order, again, I'm coping with. I didn't like it, but I'm coping with the fact that they were used as tools of war, and that's what they were there for.
They served their purpose. So what?
You gave one person a bigger role, which is the Maw, and then that was it. I can go with it, you know.
Yeah. Well, then, I mean, the Black Order needed to do what they did, and they got it done, and then they were out.
Yeah, I know.
That's pretty much.
They were gonna die.
No, that's why. Like, I have my issues, but at the same time, though, I can give a resolve for that issue.
Yeah.
But then that's when we're left with, before the after credits scene, we see what's probably going to be Farmer Thanos. He's on a planet. You see the gauntlet is pretty much kind of wrecked. I don't want to say completely destroyed, but it's
the gauntlet is wrecked, but the stones are fine.
Yeah, well, the stones are always
I thought when we see him in the farm shed, he doesn't have the gauntlet on.
No, he hasn't. He took it off.
Yeah, I think.
What it is, you see him take it off because you see how badly damaged it is. Yeah. But then he kind of just sits. He kind of goes down into a little pose, and he's overlooking just all this lush green earth in front of him,
and watching the sunset.
Yeah.
And he smiles.
Yes, a content smile. I've done my job.
I have accomplished what I've set out to do. Like everything that I've done.
People may not be happy with what I did, but they will realize in time that I've done the right thing.
Yeah, I saved the universe. In a long roundabout way.
So with the way how everything is getting erased,
which by the way, if you look at Thanos, I don't remember the exact series, but it had to do with Heart of the Universe. There was a very similar scene in that comic for that sitting farmer Thanos style thing when he took on the power of the Heart of the Universe, which I still believe that people don't truly consider that canon, but either way, good, again, touch into the comics for this movie.
They're really good at those little Easter eggs. And
that's what, like, I love those little parts that they took from the comic and really put it.
So with everybody getting, like, or half of the entire universe getting erased, I think that's going to be funny how it's going to play into the future films. We know they know, like, Spider-Man 2 is going to happen after Avengers 4 for obvious reasons. Now we know why some of these movies are taking place after.
Well, right. The only ones we really have to wonder what's going to happen in them now is Ant-Man and
Wasp.
That's
what I was going to say. So I think it's going to be kind of sad and funny when we get to the end of Ant-Man and Wasp if we see, one of them just at the very end of the film kind of poof, or even both of them. Probably not both of them. But just see either of them.
It is going to be really unique how to do.
Yeah, probably.
It really because
they want to bring in Van Dyne for more stuff.
So it's going to be really unique. I know we were talking about Captain Marvel and like the fact that her movie takes place before, yet during, and after.
Yeah, it's mostly like the past, and
right?
Or at least from what they said, mostly the past.
Yeah, you have to establish the character.
Well, I have a feeling we're going to get the establishment of Sword because there have been a few things like there was somebody wandering around on set that looked very familiar to Firebrand in the comics. Mm-hmm. There was somebody's playing. I had heard that there's going to be a Mockingbird. So again, very much reminiscent of the Agents of Sword.
Right. But, so, I want to kind of finish this off by, our normal round out discussing kind of what we liked, what we didn't like about this movie.
Start with you.
You want to go with me
Start
first?
With you.
Okay.
This is your baby.
Yeah, this is my baby.
It's been a good year for John.
Start of the year. The fact that...
I'm being optimistic.
Start of the year. It's... With Avengers Infinity Hero clicks, amazing. Hopefully we get a brick of that soon and kind of go with all those.
Soon enough.
I know, right? Yeah, we're still a little bit away from that.
Get your Battle World. Hopefully, more than likely, we'll have God Doom.
God King Doom, which would be great. And then this movie, which was phenomenal. I actually really liked it. Again, as I said in the very beginning, I'm going to go back and watch it again. I think I'm going to go on Tuesday with a couple other friends and catch up another viewing of it.
It definitely requires more digesting for me.
It does. I think it takes a lot of digesting for this big of a movie and for everything that it was. I got out of the movie and I wanted to try to not be as biased as possible, being a Thanos fanboy, and I was trying to, and I was trying to look for things in which I said, what don't you like about this movie? Find several things that you don't like about this movie. And every single time I tried to find something, such as the Black Order, I found a resolution to understand why they would have to do it this way. So for me, when I broke it down that way, it was hard for me to find things that I didn't like about this movie. I think it had the action that we really wanted from this. It lightly touched on some humor points, just as all good Marvel, Disney movies have done, but this was a little bit left because the tone of this movie was so different.
Thankfully not Nolan versus Dark.
They didn't have a single character in this that annoyed me or brought through anything. Even Peter Dinklage's character was amusing in his massively dwarfish size. Okay? Thor, I was impressed by. For me. Okay?
Well, that's because thankfully they stuck to his more comedic and the Thor Ragnarok version.
I'm talking about his badassery. Well, the final scenes were him kind of like waylaying through Outriders and stuff like that too. What they put into Thanos in his story and kind of his development for this, and like you said before, the fact that there were a lot of scenes where it kind of like tugged on you a little bit, and I don't think it was enough to make you go down a well of despair, but at the same time though, it woke you up. There was enough tugging on a string from, you know, your heart to make you truly stay invested in this film.
Real quick, would you say this is kind of like, would you put it on the same realm as Empire Strikes Back? Because I've noticed some people make some comparisons to the way it made them feel and the impact that this movie's had. Would you say Infinity Wars is the Marvel equivalent? Or even just on the same level, even as Empire Strikes Back?
I don't want to compare apples to oranges.
You can compare apples.
Yeah, more about. Let's start some wars. Okay, but this is the thing, where Empire Strikes Back is obviously the best Star Wars movie that there is. This is the best Marvel movie that there is. I'm flat out gonna say it, and I know we just watched, you know, Black Panther a little while ago, and that was basically my new one that took over Guardian of the Galaxy, and this has now quickly surpassed even that. I don't remember what I gave that. I think I gave it like a 9 or 9.5 or something like that, and I don't want to give this a 10.
No movie is perfect.
No movie is perfect.
Anybody who, I'm sorry, in my opinion, real quick, anybody who gives anything a 10 out of 10, I call bullshit. Nothing is ever perfect.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
nothing's ever perfect.
I think I have to give this a 9.5. It was almost on the precipice of perfect, but not perfect. But it takes over my #1, hands down, spot as my favorite Marvel movie. So if that pushes it anymore, like if they're tied in scores, this at least says this movie is superior to Guardians 1 and Black Panther for me, and that would be my rating.
Yeah, I've already, I think, aired most of my grievances. I can understand certain, you know, things that they've done. Again, like I mentioned, for me, the pacing was off. But then again, I don't think anybody's ever, with such a massive scale, ever going to get that right. They did the best that they could with it. It was still a great movie in that regard. There's a lot to digest. I mean, that's the reason why we're going to have to see it again and again. And honestly, I find it hard to really even judge this movie too much because it's not a complete film in a sense. This is only a half of a total story that's meant to be told. That being said, I am not a big fan of the emphasis on humor that Marvel's kind of pushing. I will say I kind of am okay with it because, like you said, there was a lot of tugging on heartstrings. They didn't want you to go into that pit of despair. So I guess the justification is that's where they kind of pull you back in. That's where they kind of find that balance. It's like, okay, humor. All right, yeah, let's go ahead and slap it back down a little bit with some of this sad stuff. And they kind of keep you in between there. But I don't know, some of the jokes made sense, especially when you have Thor, because now he's become a more jokey character thanks to Ragnarok. And with Guardians of the Galaxy, it makes sense. Some other stuff I kind of just felt was out of place, but still not necessarily unwarranted. Again, how they showed off the Black Order, the children of Thanos, the way they were dispatched is probably my biggest issue. I can understand why they downplayed them because of the fact of the movie. But what I will say as far as my score is concerned, I'm still going to give it a 9. And there's very few movies that I give it a 9.
Yeah,
it still does not, in my opinion, just for me, storytelling-wise, everything else, beats Winter Soldier. But it is definitely very close.
You win that Winter Soldier opinion.
Hey, everyone has their favorite. Yeah. I mean, for the longest time, I was Guardians of the Galaxy. I think that was rightfully so. But
so for me, I had a hard time kind of disseminating this movie into the category of being nearly the perfect movie for me. Because one, yes, they do a lot of things that are off-color. they do a lot of things that are off the comics as far as Thanos goes. They do a lot of things that are off comics, yes, I'm considering the Black Order. Yes, they kind of tweaked everybody's power levels around a little bit so that, you know, maybe Captain America doesn't get smushed to dust by Thanos, thankfully. But they've always done it. They've always lightened the load on some of these characters when it comes to fighting these big bads.
First off, we don't know how much gym time
Cap
got while he's been out of the Avengers.
Well, there was the comic jokes of him going to Hulk and Hulk's going like this. He's like, I gotta practice. I don't know when I'm ever going to need to do something like this.
So I have to preface it with this. As far as Marvel movies go, as far as the Disney Marvel LucasArts universe goes, I'm even going to include the LucasArts films. This does get my 10. Again, I said to me this is a perfect movie. However, if this is going to seem weird.
Don't forget though, Mike does normally overrate.
Yes, he does. He does. So he always has this. So for you being 9.5 and me being 9, I guess 10 is the logical conclusion.
Because Mike's scale isn't on a 10; it's actually on an 11. Because we've never seen an 11 with Mike.
I don't turn things up to 11 often, but I do have that setting.
Okay.
So I do also have to add this. This is my perfect Marvel movie, but it is actually not my number one as far as Marvel movies go. It's weird.
Well, how can it get its?
Because to me it's perfect in the way that it's done.
It's directed. It's followed through.
The way that it's pacing.
No, I get what he's saying.
No, I get what he's saying too, but I'm confused. So then that means your perfect movie has to be one we haven't reviewed because
there's one movie that I always have more fun with, and that's Ragnarok. Ragnarok I have seen multiple times now.
But you didn't rate that a 10.
I know, but I had more fun. There's a fun factor for movies. There's that rewatchability, and I think this movie is going to be one of those movies that I can go back and watch.
But we all just agree that we're going to go back and watch this movie again.
I know. Okay, so the original Iron Man.
Wait. Do you want me to use the time stone and rewind yourself?
No. Hold on. Hear me out.
Bitch!
So, no matter how many times Iron Man airs on USA, on TNT, on FX,
not 2 and 3.
Not 2 and 3, just Iron Man 1.
Right.
I can go back and I can sit through that movie and I can watch it. It doesn't matter. I can catch it in the middle. I can watch. It doesn't. I can always watch that movie. It never bothered me. I've seen it probably 47 times in 1 year at some point.
Right.
However, going back, and even though I think I enjoyed Doctor Strange more, that movie is harder for me to sit through on multiple watchings. This movie I can see again. Yes, I'm not going to sit down and watch it every single time it's on USA though. Same thing goes for the original Avengers movie. I had fun watching it, but I didn't have as much.
It was more of a setup. It was more of a setup to the greater universe.
I completely understand it just for the fact that, like I said,
I think it's perfect in the way that it flows into the rest of the story.
Ultron 2,
where it leaves us off. We don't talk about Age of Ultron.
You can skip it.
I liked Ultron though, but
I did
really
like the Ultron. I'm not a big fan of the way that they did that. Like just
talking about Rush Job.
That was the worst paced movie. That was
either way. So you're going with a 10 on this, but it's not technically your favorite for rewatchability purposes.
Yeah. So my top 3 right now fall in Thor Ragnarok, Avengers Infinity, and then Black Panther. I had to kick Guardians of the Galaxy to the curb a little bit.
See, that's why I completely understand when you say rewatchability and funness of the movie, even though... But, I mean, Guardians was one of the highest rated movies for me personally for a while, but that's because that movie was so fun and rewatchable, and they had a dance-off.
The deleted scenes, it actually was a dance.
Right? So, realistically, I think that is going to round us out for this spoiler review. And let us know in the comments below what you thought of the movie, or what your hopes are for the movie if you haven't watched it and decided to actually watch this spoiler review.
Actually, I was going to say share your favorite scenes, but probably let's not keep any kind of spoilers in the comments for anybody who hasn't seen the movie, at least not yet.
Yeah, I guess.
So instead, what you can do...
Go to our Discord channel.
Exactly.
And talk some shit on our spoilers section.
We have a spoiler section in our Discord. Feel free to have at it. We'll be there discussing it. There's going to be other people in there discussing it. Definitely meet us there. Also, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and all the other social medias can be listed in the video description below.
Yep.
We're also not just on YouTube. We hold a podcast that we do weekly that you can find on iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher, and Google Play. Definitely check that out.
And I was going to say, don't forget, last week we actually dropped the episode that talked about Thanos himself in the Marvel landscape in all of the, not all of the comics. We covered what we could in an hour leading up to Infinity War. And we have HeroClix set.
Yeah, the theme event we did for the whole Thanos thing. And we had the Black Order in the first episode, and then in the other 5 episodes we did just Thanos.
Absolutely.
Oh, and Harold, but...
So I do have to say this though, we definitely need to keep an eye out for a Nebula and Iron Man like buddy cop through space movie.
Yeah, no. Either way, I think it's pretty, with everything they've changed and what they put out in this movie, I think we're in store for a really big next half of this stage.
I agree with what everybody's saying, that they changed the game with
this. They did. They definitely changed the game.
Phase 4 is going to be some fun, boys.
Absolutely.
And we're sorry this is a little bit longer than usual, but then again, this movie was pretty lengthy and
almost
there's a lot
3
to digest.
hours.
So it makes sense that this was going to be a little bit longer than our typical review.
Absolutely. So remember, if you like what you saw, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget, if you'd like to see us grow and help us grow, you can actually head over to Patreon and become a patron today. We always appreciate the help.
And don't forget, if you want to be notified of all our future releases, you have to ding that little bell in the corner. It's weird YouTube does things like that.
It's unfortunate you have to do that.
There's also a setting to make sure you're notified of all things and not just things like this video.
Exactly. And then, of course, always follow us on Twitch. We're going to be doing a lot more soon enough than even what we usually do. So make sure to stay tuned for that.